So, aside from the private video, we are at video 2992 on this channel. And these number symbolism videos are not all-inclusive. There are certainly, perhaps there's a verse from Al-Quran that equals 2992. But the information is not as easy to find as it is in the Bible. So, I mean, as far as verses with number values, because people didn't feel like the games were as necessary. So, we do have some of that. We have phrases in English. We have clinched, hide, and dice were answers for some sort of game level. And Greek words that occur in the Bible, rendered into phrases. Kaleon, painontas, Chaldean hunger. I'm not sure what difference you would go towards when it comes to how the Persians are different when it comes to their hunger. But people claim that about the Celts too, so whatever that means. Apatasamenoi, at peace, phallus, submitting yourself to what is dangerous, just like what is negative or painful or whatever. Sometimes you have to give yourself to something that's, or to an action that is not immediately the best, but ultimately it's the best, or it may be judged as by others. Feminine aspects of justice need adjusted for the organizational power. Almost completely in the cycles of power. The tools of strengthening are at the threshold of nature. And a message of a living word can be pure, balancing, and energetically dominant, joined to make your personal desire and purpose realized. So that is something there of the scripture of this age. Let me do this bilingual. Maybe I should have got out the Aramaic and the Greek version of some part of the Bible, but guess not. Atabduna bekule riyan ayatan ta ambathun. Build on every high place a monument for vain delight. So, the context of this verse, and that's what we can do with all this stuff, right? We can look at context, we can look at individual meanings of their parts, and just elaborate, and let's not go all beautiful minds or ruled by the omens sort of people with this. But, you know, the context of that one will lead to a lot of clarity. Like, you can't say the verse, seize them and kill them wherever you find them. It's like, well, that sounds like a horrible religion you follow because this verse. And it's like, you don't say that about people, because the context was, you know, giving persecutors chances and that sort of thing. So, you know, so let's share some of the phrases. Zeus promotes full sovereignty. Look at what some of the words mean. People are like, well, that's a different, it's like, well, if it's the word for supreme God, supreme God. Don't feel like you have to use a particular language. I just, you know, shared a verse about a challenge to some people, I guess, but the in the Islamic tradition, they say to learn different languages and different cultures, I guess, to be able to respond to people. And that's sort of what I'm doing with this channel. You may not understand or agree with any particular inflection, but it's not like I'm changing my religion every 2 days or something when I do a video on a different thing, or, you know, some people are going to say that. But 9:29, and the days of Noah were 950 years, and he died. And that is one of the things. The numbers in the Bible are very interesting when you look at the fact that the numbers in the so-called Old Testament are not anything that you can... Oh, I thought it was Genesis 29, it's 19. They're not anything that you can look at and say, oh, you know, there's only one meaning. It turns out they all have a meaning that's not even a number. And, okay, they were created from a mixture of mankind and aliens. Genetics and other reasons are going to tell you that that's not necessary. All their knowledge is stolen from Zeus. All their knowledge is stolen from Zeus and his people. Cultural appropriation, hey, if you like something from a culture, you like something from a culture. But whether it's language or otherwise, the shamans and the prophets and stuff, did they really claim for themselves that everything was completely original? I don't think they did. People claim it now. It's like, oh, well, okay, if you look at Homer, to a lesser degree of what you see with the Quran, is, you know, made classical Greek literature what it was, you can say. But Greek wasn't an entirely original language. Even the best of the Arabic, if you compare, you know, you can tell Quran's being said versus not if you're familiar with the style and stuff. Even comparing the difference between what it says Muhammad said or whatever, but are they saying those words and concepts are all completely unique and original? No, they're not. You know, to properly use derivative in an insultive sort of way, yeah, people derivatively say, oh, it's a superior language, and try to pretend way too far with the saying that no one said it before and all that sort of stuff. The person in the song The Unforgiven by Metallica is Moses. I'm not sure whether that sounds crazy or whether that's just... but it showed up in the research. Genesis 19:31. And the firstborn said to the younger, Our father is old, and there is not a man in the earth to come in unto us after the manner of all the earth. And I keep forgetting that the order in tonic is different than the order in the Old Testament. The only thing Satan is worthy of is being hated. I'm not sure that's true with anything. People go way too far with blaming Satan. We all have our choices. It doesn't overstep our choice, even if there is someone tempting us. We need to stop saying it came from this or that. You're responsible for what you believe and what you do. It's on you. No one's vicariously paying for anything, or no one's taking, you know, you shouldn't excuse people that are responsible for their deeds. Purposely infected self with HIV. There are people who have done things like that. Sort of a long-term suicide, you would call it. Ezekiel 21:23. It shall be said to them, it shall be said unto them as a false divination in their sight, to them that have sworn oaths, but he will call to remembrance the iniquity, that they may be taken. And maybe you should have tried understanding. A whole lot of the whole gematria stuff is straight up along those lines. Is that people have gone to weird ways to try to understand things instead of trying to directly understand things. And honestly, if we have to play all these games with the Bible for it to somehow be true, and you can do that with pretty much anything. Pick up a random book of fiction, and if you're creative enough, you can find all sorts of truth in it. But is it in the way of summarizing all truth or anything like that? No, it's not. But if you think hard enough, you can put meaning and take meaning out of things in ways that are quite surprising. C, neglecting the poor and needy when able to is a deadly sin. Well, I talked to a person that people say could provide for 20 people if society broke down. But would that be his responsibility? That he would have to provide for dozens of non-family members? It could be a nice thing for him to do, but certainly the responsibility for your own survival, the responsibility for the well-being of your family, for what your influence actually is, that should definitely take a precedence. Go to Sheol and die. Norway whale killer. Yeah, PETA and the environmentalists and stuff, it's gone just way too far with some of this stuff. Yes, look at the balance. Don't unnecessarily cause harm to sentient beings. That includes yourself, because honestly, it all comes through yourself. I could name names of people that maybe something happened to them first that kind of prompted it, but what they did to victimize others, it traumatized themselves more than it traumatized the person that they have. They can't deal with it even more than even the post-traumatic stress disorder people. Now, am I favoring certain people and their actions of violating the rights of others? No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it all comes through us. France can conquer the earth, but Jews are special. And a lot of these people, anti-Semitic defamation league, first of all, Jews aren't really Semitic anyways. Well, about, depending on your study, anywhere from less than 5 to 10% of Jews have some Semitic blood. But again, saying that you can't criticize the Jews or you can't criticize women, let's be our another race or anything like that. Let's go beyond tolerance. If we have a problem with a belief or a practice, we can accept that people do something, but saying we just, tolerate it, certainly tolerating people's existence, that's one thing. But I'm going to go somewhere that maybe I'm going to be misunderstood even further, so be careful in judging. My family has been unjustly treated. That has happened to pretty much anyone in some sort of way or another. Racial prejudice, religious prejudice, I think we've all experienced it if we can think enough, if we haven't been too isolated. Jupiter is the true soul garden of humanity. The understanding of soul is, it's like the Quran says, you know very little about the spirit and the soul, really. But Jupiter is a word that relates to the term righteousness. So think of that what you will. November 3rd, 2019. And sometimes you look at the plural in the sense that maybe it isn't this, but we're of this. It's like, okay, if the Bible says Muhammadim, relating it as to the people of, that's a way to actually translate the Mechmadim, because that's the other dialect way of saying it. There are many other examples, but een, un, certain plurals were the first thing to come to my mind with that. What causes my dad's pain is his stubbornness. I think most of us can look at our parents or others, particularly as the middle class has become lower class in my country, and we're forced to change. Maybe we have to live like we're lower class. When you get old, you have to live, you got to realize maybe I can't make $5,000 a month anymore. Maybe I can't make $2,000 a month anymore and have to live on, oh, what are my needs? Let me figure out what my needs are. And whether it's, whatever the situation, we have to have some sort of compromise and adaptation in others. And if we're causing others pain in our stubbornness, what do we think we're doing to ourselves? Money isn't everything. Love is. Well, emotion and material things, we need to get beyond that by saying, you know, this, that, and the other. 15th of March, 2017. And that's going to be important to somebody if this video gets enough views. So, or maybe that's something I can look up. Why me? I'm not better than the rest. I can't do this alone. You need to be amazed at what you can do alone. The 1111 witnesses. If we think about certain numbers, we're going to find that these numbers occur again and again and again related to all sorts of things. So let's realize that if we look for a sign, we're going to find a sign. Whether that's a number or guidance, it's out there. And we all get more than enough. Trust. Oh, Austin doesn't have to listen to Jesus. People need to stop it. They just need to stop it with all this. Oh, did I say 2 Timothy? You know, but always acting like God's the one speaking, and yeah, maybe God lets himself be known through revealed books and the books of nature and the book of ourselves, but let's not overstate that, and let's not stop the action that we should be taking because we're waiting for a sign, or take action asserting some sign that's not there. 2 Timothy 3:3, without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good. And it goes over the list of, you know, things not to be. But perhaps look at some of the context for these things. World rapture, her 49th year. The whole 7 times 7 thing, and the Sothian cycle, and various things to look at related to that. But perhaps the rapture, rather than people being taken and some sort of sexually repressed way of projecting, I want to do things without my clothes on, but I can't really state or allow myself to feel that, so I'm going to talk about being taken in the rapture. And be taken in the moment. Be in the action for the action. Not any results, although you can certainly hope for results, or fear results, or whatever, but get into the moment for the sake of the world. And a wicked wind blows. What a waste of supply. I don't want to ever see you again. All that I see is that I don't belong to you and you don't belong to me. That's a reason why some people do or don't get married. And it's like, you don't belong to other people. Stop renaming people like property, and stop, you continue to be your own person. Jehovah doesn't demand worship. Now, a true God might be pleased with things, but giving us a choice, and giving us a choice that we can understand. So, what do these numbers mean to you? What do these phrases mean to you? What do these verses mean to you? definitely use things like this to your own, means and context. Realize and actualize. Being the sage that controls the symbolism, that chooses the symbolism rather than the oracle ruling you.